Hello, everyone. We have Cris Tsinghua. I don't know how to spell your name, from CONFLUX network. It's complicated language for us. As for you, Turkish, probably.
Yes, merhaba. Thanks for having me here, Concha. You just call me Chris. Christian. Chris is enough. Tsinghua is just my Telegram name in the end, right? I just added like that because I think there are like a million of other Christians, Chris's on Telegram.
Yeah, exactly. And probably my name is also pain for you. You don't understand the last letter on my name. You never saw something like that, probably.
It's like when I was in Istanbul, it's like Beşiktaş, then, but I was like Beşiktaş, right? And I was asking, where's Beşiktaş? And they're like, no, man, it's something completely different. So actually. That one is super hard. It's like people would pronounce it as a normal C, probably.
It's chi. You need to read it like chi, and on the Beşiktaş you need to read that word as she. And people tend to call me Aytung in the global meetings. They think it's kind of K or Q. Someone in Germany called me Aytuna. It would be far more easier for him and for me as well. I don't want to take your time too much, Chris. You are too busy. We are seeing you are building a completely new ecosystem, stable coins, DEXs, and a proof of work system, and we will see a network approach tomorrow, I believe. Since we are also miner, we care about this kind of stuff. Would you mind talking about CONFLUX and its mission? Because CONFLUX is relatively a new project, and Turkish investors and Turkish community wants to know about CONFLUX and you personally.
Yeah, no. So like you talked about the ecosystem already. So basically, you said a couple of keywords like so essentially, CONFLUX is the open network for an emerging world of digital assets and decentralized applications, right? So we want to build like an open network to drive the next generation of global commerce, right? And give people a place for themselves where they're in charge of their own assets, compared to the traditional world we have now, where it's everything in a third party. And it has to be fast. So CONFLUX enables and secures interoperable flows of assets and data across protocols, right, and applications to create an internet of value for all, right? And it's super developer friendly, it's permissionless. And when you talk about POW, many people probably have like a cap number of what that number is, like how high can you increase it? We developed a DAG-like structure on top of POW, which is called the tree graph, and we can reach up to 3,000 to 6,000 TPS. So if I just send you like our native tokens, I click send and you'll probably get it. Like in a couple of seconds, you'll receive it. So that's how fast it is. Now we don't have like parachains or anything on the side. It will all live on the blockchain itself. And for the key visions in the future, there are like so many different tracks to look onto, right? One of them is definitely remittances, like worldwide, which is also one of the reasons we have a very strong connection with the Chinese government, while we also have partnerships with fiat to crypto partners in Africa, like FlickPay, right? To enable like a better flow of decentralized assets between different countries. That's one of the ultimate goals. And another one is to build up the ecosystem. But I think we can talk about the ecosystem later. I even have like one ecosystem product here with me. Here, don't know if you see it. It's like an NFT product, and I can do an unboxing with you guys to show the Turkish how it is. And then hopefully we'll get some shipped over to Turkey within the next year, so we can distribute it with our community as well.
That would be awesome. I followed up that NFT part, and I'm kind of NFT fan myself. And you published some of that NFT series, and I believe it's CONFLUX mascot. I don't know if he got any name.
Yeah, his name is Confi.
Confi, yeah.
Confi is the name of our mascot. Wait, let me get another thing. Like, we have them everywhere.
Okay.
We have them here on our, like a pillow.
Oh, that's great.
We have them on T-shirts. We even have them at the weekend when we were at the Wuhan conference in China. We had like community members signing up to wear them, and they were like, "No, I want to wear it. No, I want to wear it," and just walk around. Yeah.
Yeah. In Turkey, when you say Wuhan, people tend to leave the conversation. Wuhan, okay, I'm out.
Okay. Like, to be honest, right? It's like the safest place in China right now, right? There are no new cases from China anymore. I know that it sounds scary, but it's like super normal place. People go out, people eat, but people wear masks everywhere. So it's actually super safe to go there. Yeah.
I heard about that as well. Wuhan is the safest place in the world right now, if you are to talk about coronavirus. And you talked about Chinese government, and this leads us to our second question. We know that Chinese government publicly endorsed you, and you told that you were in Wuhan. You are probably in China right now with your office in China. We heard bad stories about Chinese government against crypto companies and crypto exchange, but you are completely on the different place in the eyes of Chinese government. As far as I know, and as far as I see, you are in the office. We can see it's probably a big office. We saw the CONFLUX picture on the wall. What this means for the community? Can you a little bit emphasis about this? What's with you and the Chinese government?
Yeah, no, for sure. One of the major milestones was actually the beginning of this year, like almost 12 months ago. Right now, actually, to this date, like around 11 months ago, we signed an agreement with the Shanghai municipal government in Shanghai, right? Like the local government there, to jointly open the Shanghai Tree Graph Research Center. And what this means is that the Shanghai Research Institute will be like a incubation center and research center that evolves around blockchain technology, especially public blockchain technology, and how to implement this technology within various verticals of the industry, right? Like, obviously, you will have like some places within the government, for example, data security and confidential information that needs to be passed around there. But then you also have a huge fintech sector. How does blockchain come hand in hand with fintech, especially traditional fintech? How does it move into the blockchain era of the time, right? And I believe this is something that most people know. But then Shanghai itself, there are also many other companies in Shanghai, right? It's, besides being the financial capital of China, there's a lot of automobile and manufacturing here. So that also comes in handy in how we can collaborate with blockchain technology, especially public blockchain technology, to make, let's say, vaccination traceable in the future for the people, right? So besides that, we have the research center. I can tell you a couple of things we have started. Like in June, we have cooperated with the Shanghai Xuhui Real Estate Market Management, right, and discussed the cooperation on housing leasing platform. Then afterwards, we cooperated with the Shanghai Software Center, right, and where we jointly published the research on a new cross-chain system supporting heterogeneous multi-chains interoperability, and which is still ongoing, and it has been submitted to the Ministry of Science and Technology for the 2020 research projects. After that, we have a project which is called, research on the application of blockchain and logo analysis of the aviation products, right? And this is was part of the Science and Technology Action Plan of 2020 and driven by Shanghai, right? And it's currently in the process of being signed and is probably signed already. And yeah, these are just a couple of things. Besides the research center, the Shanghai municipal government was very generous and allocated a 2,000 square meter floor in Shanghai, which is now the Shanghai Tree Graph Institute, right? So all new projects, right, that build on top of CONFLUX, we welcome them to come to Shanghai and work in that office, right?
Yeah. We should consider moving to Shanghai.
You guys come to Shanghai.
Yeah, maybe we should also. I'm not sure, but can we call the Shanghai as a San Francisco of China, because it is one of the its financial capital, as you said. But
it's, I wouldn't say San Fran. It's more like a New York of China mixed with San Francisco.
Yeah,
because Silicon Valley itself, right, if you talk about that, is actually in Beijing.
Yeah.
The Chinese Silicon Valley is in Beijing and in Shenzhen, and Shanghai is like financial, and Shanghai has had a very long story in the course of the history with being like a port city, right? So where all ingoing imports and exports started from there, and it's like the principle of place to go to, right? So yeah, I mean, it's a good comparison, but the weather is not as good as San Francisco.
Okay.
That's one I can be sure of.
Chris, DeFi is a very hot topic. Maybe we should a little bit talk about DeFi as well, because I know you have some initiatives going on, like Moondex, and you have now stablecoin on CONFLUX. Would you mind to tell us about the different initiatives of CONFLUX right now, about DeFi or NFTs?
Yeah, no, sure. So like all the DeFi hot topics, right? They also come to China. And the funny thing is, it's like the Western topics are in China, and on top of the Western projects, you still have like a bunch of Chinese projects here as well that people from outside of China probably don't even know of, right? So that's like super interesting. Like you have your Chinese art on an NFT, right? You have so many projects here, and there are so many different ways of playing DeFi here in China. They call it playing DeFi in China. It's like the word they say, it's like play DeFi. So like there are so many people who participated in all the liquidity mining. I probably assume that maybe 30% of the people that got like a Uniswap airdrop, right, were Chinese people, or like were people from China. Like I would assume such a big number, to be honest, but it's just an assumption. If it's true or not, I don't know.
It also brought to another topic, decentralization, because people is asking question about Bitcoin mining, since Bitcoin mining is mostly done by Chinese. So if you say Uniswap is Uniswap distributed 30% of its airdrop, which is, I believe it's 12% of total supply of Uniswap to China, it also hurts the narrative of decentralization of Uniswap. I wasn't know that.
Like, I don't know if it's a fact, right? I'm just guessing. I would totally believe that number, because everyone here, when Uniswap came out, like everyone I asked, yeah, I got it. Yeah, I participated, I used it, right? So that was amazing, and it pushed it even further. So like, one misconception many people have about China is that China is anti-crypto, right? And actually, if we go back in the long history of since the beginning of Bitcoin, I think somewhere like in 2013, there was the first Chinese crypto exchange, Bitcoin China, or something the name was in English, where people started trading here, and they were able to use fiat to directly purchase Bitcoin, right? But then back then, Bitcoin was like super small, and it was not really on the radar of the Chinese government. And at the same time, the mining communities were building in Sichuan, in the land of the panda, where it's like the main hotspot for all the miners in China. And since then, it got bigger and bigger. People were using it to do like non-regulatory international remittances. So it got on the radar of the Chinese government, and they're like, stop this. In the long run, it'll hurt like the financial ecosystem stronghold of China. And since then, you have all these up and downs with regulations. Back in 2017, where they're like, no more ICOs, right? But if you say no more ICOs, private funding is still okay, right? But you just can't do it on an exchange. And that's also one of the reasons why we are so connected, or why we are one of the companies that can completely legit work in China and have no problems for now, is because we are not doing an ICO like most of the other projects that have moved from China, right? Because we're not going that path. But on a good side is we are working with the Chinese government on something which they know is not avoidable, right? You have the great firewall of China, but you can't stop people from accessing Bitcoin, right? That's too hard to do. There are so many different platforms to use it. And they know that this is part of the future. And before telling everyone using it or letting them like waste money in ICOs, like what happened in the last couple of years and is still happening with lots of Ponzi games, we are working with them together to see how we can shape the new era of public blockchains for the people, that it's more friendlier, right? That's something we are working very hard towards. And besides that, actually, another thing on China is actually pro blockchain technology, but a bit anti cryptocurrencies. That's it. So there are, I think, China right now, Alibaba and Tencent, these companies, they have the most blockchain patents in the world, right? When it comes to blockchain technology. But they all use permission blockchains like Hyperledger Fabrics. And the government has a lot of sandboxes to say, okay, hey, you have a blockchain company, work here, we'll give you workspace. If you have good technicians, we'll even give you some funding and grants. Depends on where you're going. So that has been pushed for ages, and there has so much money been flowing into that specific sector. But that's something like maybe our sector, our community does not, does not hear that much from, right? Because we are public blockchain people, and yeah, permission blockchain is something that it's a different technology. It's not something we like.
Yeah. It's enlightening conversation so far, Chris. Not just with CONFLUX, but also Chinese sentiment against and towards the crypto and blockchain technology. It's something just came into my mind about this. You told that China, and probably you also not to choose the path of ICO, but you have smart contracts on CONFLUX right now, and let's assume that I want to use your smart contracts and I need funding, and I need to do an ICO on. So if I want to make an ICO and try to fundraise with using your smart contracts, what would happen?
It's an interesting question, right? So essentially, what CONFLUX is building is a protocol that everyone can use, like every developer can use it. And if you decide to develop on CONFLUX and have the resources to do an ICO, right, we cannot say no, right? Or like if you are a project from, let's say, America, right, building on top of CONFLUX, and in the States, you can do legalized ICOs, or in other countries, right? Why would we jump in and say, no, stop, you can't do it? It's like saying people on Windows or Linux can't just develop whatever they want, right?
Yeah,
or
exactly.
whatever they want. It's like also CONFLUX network is completely open source and online, like people can do whatever it wants because that's a fundamental thing that with the CONFLUX, which we believe in, like open sourcing it and sharing it with everyone in the world, can get us more globalized and can spread blockchain technology to everyone. So maybe we don't even know that we're using blockchain, but the technology, the infrastructure, the protocol is there. What you do with it, what the developers do with it, it's up to them.
Yeah, yeah. I was already noted this answer, but I asked this because to show the power of the open source project. Wherever you are, what did you build is not important. If it is open source, you can do anything with it without asking any permission from anyone.
Yeah.
This is rich. Our next question is actually you kind of explained that question already, but I want to ask, maybe you want to answer about this. What is the main difference between Chinese and the other parts of crypto communities? Because I know there is a gap with China and global crypto community. And I don't know if it's just for language or it's a cultural thing, but we don't know what's going on in China lots of times. And you kind of explained about that. What happens? What's their sentiment against crypto? Do you have any idea about what's the differences of the crypto communities?
It's super interesting, actually. You like all the communities you see in the West, you see them in China as well. You have your developer communities, you have your mining communities, and you have your trader communities, right? And then you have your regulatory communities, which is still something that's a bit lacking here compared to, let's say, America or Europe. And the communities, while they are the same, the numbers are completely different, right? Like China has the largest secondary market in the whole world. China has the largest mining market in the whole world. With Filecoin coming up, geez, every event you go to, you see, you can buy Filecoin mining rigs, yeah, and that kind of stuff. Like people hustle in China super hard. So if there's a new opportunity, they will grasp it and make something out of it. That's an interesting thing. And the secondary market is also something that attracts most public blockchain projects, or hence heck, any project basically that has a global vision is interested in the secondary market in China, right? Like to be completely honest here. Something that's super different here is if you look at community building itself, right? In the West, outside of China, you probably use Medium, right? You probably use Telegram and you use Discord, right? Yeah. All these three platforms are banned in China. So you can't use them here, right? So so in China, when we talk about, or Twitter also doesn't work. For Twitter, we have Weibo. For Telegram, we use WeChat, right? For Medium, there are like a dozen of different platforms that people use, right? And it's just the information is sometimes more fragmented compared to the West. Yeah. So that's something that makes it different. If you get in from the trader community, you'll probably find a very hard time to get out of it, right? But maybe you don't even want to get out of it, right? If you're in the developer community, once you find your click, you'll stay in there and develop with the people and get like real bonds. And the mining community is also completely different. Yeah.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, and you have also a huge population, not just on crypto. In general, you are biggest country in the world. And you're also biggest number of crypto community. And maybe this question would a little bit bore you because it is one of the most asked questions to us in Turkey. We know Binance is Chinese, OKX is Chinese, Huobi is Chinese. There are tons of exchanges Chinese. There are huge thought leader and the industrial leader coming from China. Would you mind sharing CONFLUX plan for the future? Maybe you can talk about the exchanges because people is asking about the exchange very much.
Like why they're all Chinese, you mean?
No. When we will see CONFLUX on the Chinese exchange?
Oh, I mean, CONFLUX is already on several exchanges, right? Like the only difference is because we cannot do ICO and we cannot directly talk with exchanges. It does not mean that the community members can't go to the exchanges. So every exchange that has currently listed CONFLUX was led by the community, right? The community talk with them and say, hey guys, like CONFLUX is here. They can't talk with you. They will not talk with you. But the project is great. The ecosystem is getting bigger and bigger. They have a big stronghold. You should listen. So like right now, it really goes out there like a big thank you to all the community members that made this happen, right? To distribute it more so people have more access to it. I know that the ultimate goal is, especially also one of our plans, is to have people using cryptocurrency and blockchain technology in a decentralized manner, right? But right now it's still a how do you say, a bottleneck for many people, right? Because people are so used to going on Binance or whatever with their phone, right? And click here, click there, done, yeah. Right? But the problem there is, to be completely honest, it's actually more stressful to change the ecosystem in a centralized exchange, right? First you exchange, it looks good, but as soon as you want to withdraw, right, you have to get an email, you get a message, you have to do a two-factor authentication, and this takes you like 1 to 2 minutes until you have copy-pasted in like 10 different processes. In reality, with decentralized finance, all you have to do is open, let's say, on CONFLUX called Moonswap, you change your USDT to CFX, right? You press once, you press twice, done, boom, you have it in your wallet. Now you want to go on Flux, you want to lend it into the platform to get some interest out of it. You click one more time, it's done, right? So essentially, decentralized finance, how it is now, is on CONFLUX not a bottleneck anymore. It's just that many people are still unfortunately uneducated on this topic, right? And this is also something what we are doing and what we have been doing in the last couple of months. Actually, this weekend will be the end of the first university initiative we started here. It's called the CONFLUX UMA initiative, and it's an entrepreneurial campaign where we had more than 250 university students across 20 different universities in China. They participated in this whole program over 3 months, right? They learned about crypto, they learned about token economics, and they learned about how to write Solidity and develop a D-app, right? And over the course of the month, we had 50 people helping them on if they had any questions, to help them where to find their answers to it. If they needed any ideas on token economics, we had experts from the company helping them, going through their white paper. And right now, this weekend will be the final pitch of the final projects that made it from the very beginning to the very end. And hopefully they will get a grant from CONFLUX Network and actually continue on building their idea for the future. Now, this is one of the things we do to push people to engage with DeFi or decentralized technology. And some of the other things that are just quite standard are like hackathons that we do, grants that we do, right? But we also have a community-led grant here in China, because we have we have been here for a long time, and we hope to have one in Turkey as well if we find more developers, right? That the community itself can decide on, okay, these guys, we want to give them funding and incubate them, like pushed by the community. And so it's more decentralized and from the people for the people, right? I know it sounds a bit super idealistic, but it's already happening. It sounds super idealistic, but it's happening. The hard part is to find people that are willing to put their time into it and that like it, right? That want to be part of it.
It is like Gitcoin grants, I believe. People can give some money to Gitcoin applicants and the Ethereum Foundation, and the consensus is quadruple it and give that to real users. It is like a Gitcoin grants, I believe. And
it's a bit different. So we have the CONFLUX forum, right? Okay. And there's a special section for community-led projects. And if you have an idea, you go on there, you pitch your idea, you do your milestones, you put them in there, you explain why your team is the team that's fit to do this project. And then the community members, they get on a meeting with you and say, okay, we believe you guys can do it. And then we give you the funding or no. In the end, it's a yes or no question. And afterwards, you have the milestones if you want to continue or not.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, that's huge incentive for developers and the builders of the community, and I like it. And Chris, I don't want to take you too much, but we have one last question. About the roadmap. What should the CONFLUX community expect in the next year? Because 2020 is a disastrous year. In Turkey, it is actually disastrous because we had several earthquakes. People died in earthquakes in here. Yeah, we had, I believe, 3 earthquakes in 2020. You know, coronavirus already. We are dealing with coronavirus, and hopefully it will go away. Yeah, hopefully. And the financial situation isn't getting any better in 2020 in global, I mean. What should CONFLUX community expect in the next year? Give us some good news.
some good news. Like we will be expanding into even more communities, right? Thanks to you guys, or like Turkey, we have just started and we'll build it even stronger and stronger. Next step is Taiwan, another country, Taiwan, right? Then we're still evaluating on other communities or other regions to expand. We have been expanding into South America as well, right? So we'll never stop there and make the community bigger and bigger. We will continue with the university program, right, to educate even more people, upcoming specialists in the future, to develop and learn about blockchain technology, how to develop their D-app and create their real idea. Wow, this one thing is actually super nice. I don't know if I can say it. Let me think about it. I'll confirm it if I can say it and then tell you, and then yeah, you'll know. It's super nice. Another thing that comes in hand with decentralization is we'll further expand our DAO, right? So the DAO has been launched just 2 weeks ago, right? And the first 2 votes have been done already, and there are 2 more votes up there. So there will be more and more coming up, right? So people from the community can partake in the decision-making of the direction of CONFLUX network.
Maybe a little bit question about DAO, because you know Uniswap also have a DAO, but you need 10 millions of uni, which is not real DAO. It's not governance. How many token you need to put a proposal on CONFLUX DAO?
That's a very good question. We're still on it, like to design it properly so everyone can understand, because the culture is completely different when it comes to DAOs in China and in the West, right? And as you probably know, all the DAOs, they all work differently, right? There is not a standard protocol on what is a DAO, right? So we're still like fine-tuning it, right? But for now, it's like we hear voices from the community everywhere, right? And if there's enough of people talking about a special aspect, we will put it onto a DAO and let the community vote for it. Yeah, that's how it is for now. But we will refine it so it's more global. Like, if that's a very philosophical question, like what I wanted to answer, but we can talk about it some other time. Like, what's the perfect DAO for everyone?
Yeah, exactly. It's a trade-off game. I know. You cannot have perfect DAO, and it is evolving process. I know. And it was very fruitful conversation, Chris. It's always I'm always enjoy talking with you about anything, and thank you for accepting our interview offer. That was perfect for me. It is very good to talk with you and learn about the CONFLUX process. Do you have any last message for the community? either for the Turkish community or global community, because it's English. People can watch and learn anytime. But we will add subtitles.
Actually, there's one thing I wanted to add to what you were saying, please.
No
like
problem.
if we see a minute. So one thing people can expect, there will be more and more assets coming on top of CONFLUX Network. We will have more and more wallets supporting CONFLUX Network. And actually, one of the things I want to tell everyone is 2020 was a hard year for everyone. And soon, in February 2021, it will be a new Chinese year. And it'll be the year of the bull.
Whoa!
Right? So,
my friend.
like, maybe that will be something.
Okay, not.
It's just it has nothing to do with what we're doing, but it's the year of the bull. So people should be happy with the year about the bull.
Yeah, I want to know that. I kind of born in the dragon year of China.
Yeah.
I know all the year passed around of Chinese years, and it is also very important. And I wasn't know that there is a bull year, and it is 2021. And I also know that the Americans going to make another airdrop to their entire country. It's the check. What was the name of the check? They paid like a $1,200 to everyone. Stimulus checks, yeah. And January they will distribute the new stimulus checks to everyone, and it also helped the global market of the crypto probably. And I wasn't know that the February is the bull year.
It's a bull year. It's a bull year. Like CONFLUX will have new partnerships, new ecosystem projects, more developer-friendly tools, right? New global communities, better decentralized governance, and the community is working on other DEX listings, right? I hope they're doing, like, from what they're doing now, it will be interesting for the people to have other platforms where they can obtain the tokens. That's for sure. And yeah, I wish everyone in Turkey can experience DeFi on top of CONFLUX. Like, everyone who has experienced DeFi on Ethereum knows how cumbersome it is, how slow it is, but how high the fees can be. Just try it out, and if you like it, tell me. If you don't like it or think Ethereum's experience is better than on CONFLUX, reach out to me and we can work on it together to see how we can improve it, right? Like, it's very important that we communicate with the community to do it, and I'm always here for you guys. Yeah.
Thank you, Chris. Again, it was happy to talk with you, and I want to do it another time to make more the second part, maybe, and a more detailed version of this, because there is lots to talk about if we are to talk about China and CONFLUX for sure. Okay, let's regroup after the bull year.
But here, let me do this unboxing with you guys. The NFT unboxing here. Is it okay? Do you still have time?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, let's do it. So this is the NFT from our, from Comfy City, right? And in this box will be either this guy or one of these other people here. Like, they're not.
People can redeem their NFTs with the toys. Yes.
So if you buy this NFT, I'll send some to Turkey so we can give it to the community, right?
It is interesting. Yeah, I want that because it is also something. It makes that real asset. It is backed by the real asset in the world.
Let's open it and see which one it is. Let's do like an unbox therapy kind of thing.
It is also part of our culture, by the way. People in Turkey is making unboxing, and people watch it. Wow, it's unboxing. PlayStation 5 unboxing.
Let's do this.
And we have some ASMR effects of its voice too. That's good. Yeah.
This is Conky.
Yeah, conky, not comfy.
No, this is the only one in here that is
Okay.
conky and conky. So this one, the cat here is conky, and this is confy. So this is conky and conky. This is like devil conky or demon conky, right? So once you get this right, the other thing you get with it is like a paper, like an NFT paper. The important thing is actually here, this part. If you unscratch it, if you unscratch this part, it'll give you a private key, and that's your NFT. And everyone who gets one of these, besides getting this, will also get like a sort of different tokens as a thank you for that. Okay. So yeah, that was it. I'll get some to Turkey so we can share it with the community there as well.
Okay, of course. Yeah, I love it. I want the whole series of it. Maybe it would be like tens of thousands of dollars in the next 10 years, because you know the Pokemon cards is very hot in global right now. People is selling Pokemon cards. Yeah, like in the first edition of Pokemon cards. You know Pikachu. Yeah, it's one of the most important store of value item right now in global market.
Jeez.
Yeah, let me show you some Pokemon cards. First edition. This is silly. I can tell that Charizard. You know Charizard. Everybody knows Charizard. Probably you know Charizard, right?
Yeah, the fire spitting. Yeah.
See this is the. I think this is $500,000 of or
what?
Something like,
I need someone who has it. My cousin has this one.
But it should be first edition. You see, this is important. The first edition.
I think he has it. It's still from like 2000. These years, man. It's like 20 years old. This card.
Yeah. This is your cousin maybe sitting on the really good amount of money.
I'll be talking to him. Like the most expensive. It's not this one. It's a super hard one. There's one that's super limited of this, and it trades for 5,000 RMB in China. 5,000 RMB is right now like $750 US for one of them in the community. They trade them. Yeah.
See, I saw something. Let me show you. This is interesting. You need to take some of cards of your cousin. See, first edition holographic Charizard is 24,000 space, and Blastoise, it's really good amount of money. Chansey, Hitmonchan, yeah, maybe I know it is it's more than that. Maybe this website is old, but you should check that out. And I want whole series of that Confi and Conky.
Yeah, I'll send them over. Don't know when they'll arrive. I think it's a better time when they arrive in the year of the bull.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks everyone. Bye bye. Join CONFLUX.
Bye bye.